I had a chance to sit down with peak performance strategist, keynote speaker, and global citizen Nick Sinanan. We talked about his amazing story where he went from Olympic athlete to hospital bed to peak performance coach. I hope you enjoy it.
Imagine, what if we could all live in a world united by humanity? And what if we would all be thriving with vibrant health and chronic diseases would just be optional? My name is Nick Sinanan, and I'm considered as the global charity matchmaker, and on the other side, as the leading Wall Street's peak performance strategist. It took me a while to connect with my calling, remembering the path my parents set me onto. 26 years ago, I woke up in hospital and I was told how lucky I was because I survived a severe bike accident just some month prior to the Atlanta Olympics. And I was told if the rehab would work out well, I would be able to make it as a participant on the stands. And for me, it was really weird because I was qualified as an athlete to show the world what I've crafted and done over the previous 4 years. And so I slowly but surely realized what the physician just told me. I had a severe brain injury, and thinking about my event, which was at this time decathlon, the most complex event in track and field, it was not the best foundation while struggling with some brain-related issues. So that was the starting point to really remember the path my parents set me onto. So I originate from a huge humanitarian-oriented family. And right now, being a dad of 2 wonderful children, and thanks to my parents, of 65 godchildren on 5 continents. So for 26 years right now, I'm on the path giving back. And I'm the past president of the Rotary Club of Wall Street, New York. And so I'm so grateful for what I can support in helping all around the globe. And we have so many, talking about, let's say, the last 3 years where the whole world shut down and we had to go virtual. That really elevated our, let's say, global reach. And there's so many amazing projects right now, because let's talk about the traditional way of fundraising or charity concerts. So we moved this possibilities on a whole new level, and even the ability right now that I can communicate with you, Jeff, being in the US and I'm in Germany, which is so nicely just to have just the time zone and to jump on a call, which makes life so much easier. And I remember during my presidency, because the idea was to really travel, but the world was still closed because of the pandemic. And so my wish was to attend at least one meeting a day, so with another Rotary Club I didn't know before. And so I really made it to, I stopped counting at 365 meetings, which was so nice because I was able to jump on a call with fellows in India, in Singapore, in Egypt, in South Africa, you name it. And so that was really the beauty. And thanks to technology, it's not always in our favor, but it really opens the world, because let's say in your case as well, being a dad of 3 wonderful children, they grew up with this technology. They grew up with AI and all the possibilities. And let's say someday they might be sitting on a beach, just downloading the professor's brain, listening to a seminar, for example.
Right. Yeah.
And this is the beauty. And on the other side, I see there are still people who are scared about all these, let's say, dark web guys, etc. So coming back to my why, because it always comes down, okay, why I do what I do the way I do it. And from a very early age, let's say teenage years, I remember people came up to ask for my opinion in very different areas, no matter it was nutrition, recovery, performance. And this really led into my path. So the story I shared in the beginning of my own career was just one milestone, let's say, that basically woke me up, because I woke up in hospital. So that's a nice call. And then to realize, and it definitely took some time, it wasn't like, okay, we switch and then we realize, okay, how grateful we are. So there was a lot of pain and frustration to really accept that I had to pivot from a complex event to say, okay, what's the bigger meaning behind this? And I remember, I will come back to this gentleman in a second, because we have one of our mentors, they always share this quote, Steve Jobs quote, we can only connect the dots looking backwards. And in this situation, let's say a painful situation, a traumatic situation, we sometimes ask and question ourselves, okay, why me? I'm such a good person. Why does it happen to me right now? And I remember when I had to pivot and said, okay, yes, I will go all in. I have 4 more years to the upcoming 2000 Olympics in Sydney at that time. And my coaches and the rehab staff, they said, okay, there's a new event coming up. It's the Olympic triathlon for the first time. And why not going for this? And for me, it was out of this world, because you're a track and field athlete, and you're strong, you're fast. And it seems like, if you want to do the comparison, to tell, let's say, Usain Bolt, the former fastest man on this planet, to qualify for the Olympics to run a marathon. So it's got nothing to do with what you train for. But anyways, I gave it a shot. It was part of my rehab. And a year before the Olympics, I fell off a horse, broke my ankle, injured my spine. And then I said, okay, now I know I have another mission. And I took over the coaching and mentoring position, and I helped the upcoming 25 years, helped athletes on their way to the Olympics, to the world champs, to reach their peak performance on game day on the mental training level. And so that was really my blessing. So thanks to the universe, I'm still here. Thanks to you that we're able to communicate. And then after this incident, I lost, at this time, my best friend. She was suicidal. We were in a beautiful high performance training environment, still on the way to prepare for the Sydney Olympics. And she took her life in front of us while drowning. So we did a stupid exercise, who's able to hold their breath the longest. And so she just disappeared. And it took some time for us to realize, okay, she didn't have any superpowers, that she was able to hold her breath for way longer than we trained for. And then again, I really questioned the universe, because we found a letter telling us that she chose us as her family instead of her family of origin to spend the last days with us. And that was one moment where I really realized I felt guilty, we felt ashamed, we felt ridiculed, because we did didn't have any clue she didn't feel well, because we'd been in a rut of peak performance and focus, and I had desperately reached out to get some question. I was connected to Tony Robbins in 2000. And after having the privilege to tell her parents about the loss, and their answer was just like, okay, yeah, we did expect some information like this, which was shocking for me as a parent, you as a parent. And so Tony Robbins connected me with, at that time, the top tiers in PTSD. And so the number one takeaway was, because I felt responsible, I said, okay, what didn't I notice or overlooked during this time? And they all shared, you can only see and analyze what this person will show or communicate with you. I can only see what you show me. Otherwise, to take a look behind the scenes. And that was really my aha moment. And from this moment, and this elevated my ability and capability to work closely with my clients, no matter it was peak performance athletes or further down the road, executives on Wall Street on their way into a burnout or to recover from a state of burnout, to really identify, okay, me as a coach, and you can relate, Jeff, in your field, you can only provide your wisdom if your client, your athlete, your partner, your significant other is on the same page, on the same level. It's not this hierarchy. Okay, you're the guru and this is the student. As soon as you get on this level, on eye level, then you're on the same page and you start from scratch. And there are good and bad days. We all know that. And this component really dissolved so much pressure from my shoulder, because I really felt so guilty that I didn't pay attention, that she didn't feel good. And so this is what I give from, let's say, first lesson to everyone I communicate with, to just make sure, okay, let's our ego aside, and there is no hierarchy, there is no all these, whatever, I carry this funny button, there is no black belts and green belts and whatever, so we start from scratch. So even though you carry the black belt, so we start from scratch. And it's nice to learn from your experience and probably your failures as well. We don't have to go through all these failures. And that was my aha moment. So right now I can say 25, 26 years after waking up in hospital, I'm truly, truly grateful for all these, at that time, really painful lessons. And so life, as we all experience over the last years, is a roller coaster. So we can wish for, we can create on our blueprint for 2023, we can create our ideal scene. Sometimes life went sideways and then we have to readjust. But this is the beauty of, let's say, having us souls in this human experience to adjust, to be able to adjust. We're not a tree. So, and if the wind is too strong, so then we know what happens to the tree. So we can adjust. Sometimes our nose is bleeding. As long as we learn, we know why it's bleeding. And so the next time we might have an idea how to avoid the bleeding. So that was basically my lessons learned 26 years ago.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And the things that come to my mind immediately are, first of all, resiliency. You have to be resilient in order to see meaning in tragedy. And that's just, it's amazing that you're able to connect the dots with all of that stuff. And I'm curious, how soon were you able to do that? Because some people are able to do it, you know, after years. Some people are able to do it during the tough times, because it is a skill for some people that you have to kind of develop. For other people, it's more of an innate thing, and it just happens naturally.
It's a good question, and let's go back 26 years. It was not very popular to communicate to someone about meditation or mindfulness practice in the Western world, let's say. And so even the fact of mental training, for example, so here in Germany, it's very different in the US. So in Germany, mid-80s, a gentleman named Boris Becker won Wimbledon at the age of 17. And he just described his concept of, okay, he imagined himself center court in Wimbledon as his living room. And we have all an idea, okay, what it feels like to be at home in our living room. And that was a great metaphor, because in Germany at that time, the mental training concept, even though in East Germany, mental training was a big thing, besides, let's say, all the pharmaceutical aids, etc. But in East Germany, for example, they had a very small, limited pool of talents. And they did everything possible to first identify, do we have a talent here? On kids level. So they really started at very early age to do talent identification on any sort of sports. What's very different from, let's say, West Germany. And so this is why as soon as they identify it's gonna be a talent for, let's say, track and field, and we break it down, okay, he's gonna be a fast twitch fiber athlete, sprinter, jumper, thrower. Then they gathered these talents in a class. Let's say there were 100 talents for discus. And so the outcome in this highly competitive environment, having these 100 talents, the outcome and the model worked well if 2 of these 100 made it to bring home an Olympic medal. That was the concept from all the disciplines, basically in individual sports, because in team sports, there's another component, because there is this tactic component. So it's way easier if you use means like mental training, pharmaceutical aids. If it's an individual sport, we heard a lot about, let's say, pro cycling. If your outcome is dependent on the force you can produce in your quads, so then you can put some help. To answer your question, yes, it's very different. In my case, it took me a while to first accept, okay, I failed. You have to accept, okay, I put 4 years, sweat, tears, time, effort, you name it, in the game, and on the final stretch, you fail. So first thing you have to accept. Of course, it helps if your environment is set up, besides the fact that there were these people to say like, come on, just skip it, let's go out and have drinks. But that wasn't me. And I've seen athletes in my field, so they just gave in and gave up to say, come on, I was in good shape, I gave it a try, but right now let's party. And then in my case, because I said no, I feel there is there is still something I want to show, because I can remember I was in best shape I can imagine, which helped me through the rehab. Because if the mindset is set for this, the rehab is just a part of a training process, a component.
Right.
Of course, it's difficult if you are on your own. So if your network, talk about like-minded individuals, or for both of us, so we met in a mastermind, which really helps.
Yeah.
In comparison to having all the naysayers and go like, hey, Jeff, are you sure what you do with your business, with your, why don't you just skip it? So we're close to Christmas. Why do you have a call right now? Let's wind down. And so, of course, it takes courage, and it takes, sometimes you need to mute the naysayers to get back on track. But I can say, thanks to my mentors, and I had an amazing mentor as a teenager. At that time, he was the former world champion in decathlon, Daley Thompson from England. And so he set us as young athletes with an amazing mental concept. Because talking about, let's say, the holiday season, he said, okay, definitely, if he can make it on Christmas, on Boxing Day, to go in a gym and train a hard lesson, or New Year's Eve, he said, okay, there are opponents out there who don't. And so you have it in the books, you did it. And so that was one concept I really took from very early age. But of course, it's very individually related. And right now, if you would ask, okay, Nick, if I have this setback, how long does it take for me to come back mentally? Because the rest just follows. If you're set mentally, the rest just follow. But it really helps if you can connect to something, and if you believe there is a reason why we are here, and there is a reason why at this point in time we communicate. Because for me, in my case, there is no coincidence in life at this point that we talk about this right now.